Hello everyone, I am Jonathan Little. I want to thank everyone for being here with me tonight. We see a lot of regulars, a lot of new people, so that is good. Today, we're going to be discussing 3 big mistakes small stakes players make. Someone asked me earlier today, does this apply to cash games or tournaments? It applies to both, because these mistakes are very consistent among recreational players. So first things first, who am I? For those who do not know me, like I said, we have a lot of new people here. I am Jonathan Little. I'm a professional poker player. I've been playing poker for, 15 years now. And I've cashed for over $6.8 million in live poker tournaments. I'm also the author of 14 best-selling educational poker books. I'm the commentator on many poker shows like World Series of Poker, World Poker Tour, Party Poker's events, Poker Stars events. I've commentated a lot. And I'm also the head coach at pokercoaching.com, which is my training site where I have over 400 interactive quizzes, in-depth, advanced monthly webinars, kind of like this, except for I task everyone with a very difficult question, and then I give them a score. I go through and I personally grade everyone's webinar, or everyone's answer live. So if you want to check that out, go to pokercoaching.com, and you can sign up for a completely free trial. So I did something a little bit different recently. I've actually done similar things in the past, but this was slightly different. I was approached by a guy, Nickel Sagal. Now, I didn't know him from anyone else in the world, but he briefly told me his story where he won his way into the Poker Stars $25,000 buy-in tournament that they had in January by winning a seat for free due to a contest Jamie Staples was running called My Ultimate Sweat Challenge. And basically, he lost a lot of weight, quit smoking, and got his diabetes under control. Essentially, Jamie Staples did a big weight loss bet, so he tasked other people to change their lives. Apparently, Nickel was the best change, and he was given a $25,000 buy-in seat plus $5,000 for expenses. And he went out there, had a great time. Here's his Twitter feed, right? Here's him playing the 25K. And before this, he reached out to me for private coaching. And I was moved by his dedication to get his life under control, so I agreed to coach him for free if I could record all the sessions and use those in the future to help out other students. And he agreed to free coaching. Why wouldn't you? So I reviewed lots of hand histories that he sent me, about 15 videos worth. In some videos, I reviewed multiple hand histories at a time. And so what would happen is he would send me a hand history, I would review it in my own time, then I would send it back to him. He would get back to me with feedback, comments, questions. I would then answer those questions in the next video and then review more hands. We did this back and forth roughly 14 times, right? 14 or 15 times. And he went from being honestly, a very bad player because, let's face it, he got in through a free roll, right? He never played for real money. Here he is playing a 25K. He was not particularly good at poker. And, he made day 2 of the tournament with 2 starting stacks, despite being completely card dead. And whenever he told me that he was card dead, that actually says a lot because initially he played about 40% of hands, which is a ton. So that's saying quite a bit that he's saying that he was card dead. So he made day 2 with 2 starting stacks. He was in there battling, and then midway through day 2, he got it all in with a coin flip and lost. So you can't be too sad about that result because you have to win your flips, and when you lose the one flip you get in, well, that's that, right? If he would have won, he would have been in excellent shape to cash, but he didn't. You don't get to pick which all ends you win. But anyway, I was very proud of him. He told me about a few of the hands that he played, and I thought all of them were great. And he went from being essentially a pretty bad player to pretty good. He knew he had a few months to really dedicate himself to the game, and he did it, right? Because this was a huge opportunity. And he made the absolute most of it. And, we even talked about the situation where what if you go out there and you end up losing? Well, make sure you enjoy your vacation. And turns out he ended up having his own, invitational tournament because the people at Poker Stars loved him. He got lots of press in India, and it was fantastic. He's from India. So it was a great experience for him, and he is now a much better player. And actually, since coaching him, he has won a tournament online. And just today, he posted this on Twitter, so I just pulled this up a second ago. He actually took 6th place in this tournament. Now, this is a small stakes online tournament. but he ended up taking 6th place for 2,252 local currency. I don't know what the local currency is. Sorry. But I mean, he's still doing it. He's in there. He's crushing it. I mean, like right here, he has I don't know how many chips. He has a whole boatload of chips, right? And this is great. He's still in there, and he is doing it. But we're going to use him today as an example of what you should not do. Now, I took all these hands from the very first video that he sent me, okay? This is how a very recreational player would play, thinking that they are playing as well as they realistically can, because he hasn't studied any at all. And really, he was not playing well, right? So he learned, he improved, he got way better, made day 2 of a 25K, which is actually pretty tough to do. And now he's a much better player. So, the biggest mistakes. Number 1, this is very common, by the way. Amateur players typically bet way too large with their strong hands. And as an example, in this hand, it folds around to him in the small blind, and he decides to make it, I don't know, what is this, 32 big blinds. Is that right? That's a whole lot of big blinds. Folds to him in the small blind. He makes it 32 big blinds with ace-queen offsuit. Well, clearly, this is not a good play, right? Because, well, there are many reasons this is not a good play. When you blast it, you fail to get action from inferior hands, right? And in this situation, and in most situations when you bet very big with your good but non-nut hands, you force your opponents to fold their junk, which essentially means they are playing well and not making mistakes. You make money when your opponents make mistakes, and when you bet huge with your strong but still non-nut hands, your opponents can't make a mistake. You're forcing them to play well. If any of you in the chat do this, let me know. If anyone here is, if we're still live, let me know. I'm always paranoid that live shows go down, so if you all can hear me, type a little something. All right, you can all hear me. Good, good, good. Mark says, thankfully, you don't make this play. Mike says he's going to try making it 60 big blinds. All right, good, good, good. All right, so next. This is something very common, though. I imagine most of you are not making this play. However, as a general rule, you'll see what a lot of people do. They don't just make it 32 big blinds pre-flop. What they do is they will make a raise of something like 4 big blinds with with hands like jacks and tens and ace king, and raise to 3 big blinds with everything else, and they just really face up. Or on the flop, they will make a huge raise with top pair to try to make their opponents fold all their draws, not realizing that whenever they get action, their top pair is no good, right? So this is very, I mean, look, I found this example on the 4th hand that he sent me, right? 4th hand out of 326 I reviewed in this video, and well, this took place over and over and over again. Jeremy says, people love blasting it with jacks, 10s, or 9s. Yeah, you can call with any 2 cards and then bluff them when an overcard hits. Yeah, easy game, right? Dave corrects my math. 1,620 divided by 60 is only 27. Good job, good work. You're right, 1,800 would be 30. Dean says he was a certified fish. He was a certified fish, and now he is not. Now he's like actually winning poker tournaments online, which is fantastic. All right, so this one's pretty obvious, but this situation manifests itself in various ways. So you always want to ask yourself, am I blasting it with specifically my best made, or with my good but non-nut hands? Like right here, when you make it 27 big blinds, you're only going to get action from like 10s and better and ace king. And how does ace queen do against 10s or better and ace king? Not too well. All right, next. Mistake number 2. This is a very, very common mistake as well. They overplay marginal made hands. We discussed this thoroughly at pokercoaching.com because it really is a very, very common mistake. And again, this is on hand number 19. So on hand number 4, we saw a significant error, and on hand number 19, we see a significant error. And you have to understand, these errors take place on a very regular basis. And if you can just plug a few leaks that you have, you will become a significantly better player. Now, Nickel had a lot of leaks, but fortunately, he's a smart guy. He's an architect, right? He's very, very intelligent, and he was willing to do the work required to get better, and he was very open-minded. Some people come to me for coaching, and they are very closed-minded. They're almost trying to find someone to blame for their losses. That was not what Nickel was doing. Nickel wanted to get good at poker, and he did, right? So this is something else that a lot of people do wrong on a regular basis. Take a look at this hand. On this hand, this player here raises to 250. This player calls. This player calls. We call a queen 10 offsuit. Okay, no problem there. Flop comes 10-9-9, and then Nickel decides to lead. Okay? Some people look at this and say, well, what's wrong with leading? Because you make the draws fold or you charge the draws. And whenever you get called, you can still get called by some worse stuff like 10-7 suited. And, that is true. The problem here, though, is that when you do get called, first off, there was a raise preflop and calls. So the raiser probably doesn't have 10-7 suited. He probably has bigger hands, right? And also, you're not pricing out the draws. Whenever you make this bet of 700 into 1100 pot, what ends up happening is the draws are all getting the right price to call, right? So that's not good. You're not pricing out draws, so that idea goes out the window. Next, you're never going to make a 9 fold, and when you're against a 9, you're just drawing nearly dead, so that's a big problem. So in general, leading with marginal made hands, or check raising with marginal made hands, or anything like that, anytime you have a marginal made hand, and top pair on a paired board is a marginal made hand. Even if the board is draw heavy, it's almost always a mistake. Because when your bet gets called, you could easily be crushed or against a draw that has plenty of equity, so you're not in good shape then. And you have no way of knowing what you're against. And also, when you bet here, you run the risk of getting raised. Like right here, imagine you bet 700 and then someone goes all in. Well, I'm not sure how you're supposed to fold because you could be against a lot of draws, but you're certainly not happy. So Mike says, what should we do in this spot? Yeah, we should just check call. Like whenever you check and someone bets in these scenarios, then you keep them in with their entire range. Now, actually on this board, 10-9-9, in this scenario, given the relatively shallow stacks, I would not actually hate a check fold if the initial raiser bets, because the initial raiser has to have something pretty good to bet on this board, unless he's just like a lunatic, right? So if it like gets around to the cutoff or the hijack or the button and they bet, then you probably do need to stick around. And depending on their size, there may be some merit in raising if you do think they have a lot of draws in their range, but we have no real reason to think that. And also, given these players are playing really wide ranges, they could very easily have a 9, right? So it's just very likely we're beat here. And if we're not beat, we only have about 50% equity against the draws. Also, it's actually quite bad that we have the Queen of Clubs, because with the Queen of Clubs, that makes it way more difficult for the opponents to have a hand like Queen Jack that we're in good shape against, or a flush draw that we're in fine shape against. So the Queen of Clubs is actually very bad for us here. Chuck says, what are some examples of marginal made hands? Well, it depends on the exact situation. Again, we discussed this thoroughly at pokercoaching.com. On every flop, you need to be categorizing every hand in your range to either a premium made hand or a draw, which you're usually playing aggressively, or a marginal made hand or garbage. And the marginal made hands and garbage you're usually playing relatively passively. So this hand is definitely a marginal made hand here. You really want to ask, can I get it all in? And if I'm doing well, if you actually do get it all in. And in this scenario, I can guarantee you, if you get it in with Queen 10 of clubs here, you're going to be against mostly better made hands, some of which have you drawing nearly dead, or draws that all have 45% equity or something like that. All right, let's see. What about turning this hand into a bluff? Well, what are we trying to get to fold? The problem with trying to make better hands fold here, is anyone folding a better 10, ace 10 or king 10? Probably not. Is anyone folding an overpair? Probably not. So no, we're not. There's no point in bluffing. Whenever you're bluffing, you always want to ask, can I make better hands fold? And in this scenario, I just think the answer is no. That's another good test, right? If you're not going to make better hands fold, and worse hands, like pocket sevens, are not going to call if you bet, then your bet's almost certainly bad. All right, what stage of the tournament is this? This is relatively early. James says, the goal is to get it heads up. How do you do that? By checking. You don't want to get this heads up by betting, because if you bet and get quote-unquote heads up, you're going to be against a very strong range. I think a lot of people just don't understand that in this scenario, our hand is not actually that good. A few of you are saying that what if we are against ace-king or ace-queen? Well, first off, ace-queen, you want that queen to come, right? And if they do have ace-king and the turn's an ace or a king, you know that's bad for you. You have to understand, the worst possible card is not going to come every time. I think a lot of people think that, well, if they have outs, they're always going to get their outs. And that's just not true. Like, say it goes check, 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 and the turn's a 2 of diamonds. Now we have the best hand almost every time, and we're pretty happy. But if it goes check, 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 and the turn's an ace or a king or a jack, we're pretty unhappy, and that's okay. So on the ace, kings, or jacks, we're unhappy. Everything else, we're fine. So don't think that the goal is to try to force your opponents to play well. Again, if you force your opponents to play well, they're not messing up. Yeah, this is definitely a hand to put in your check range, as Jordan is saying. And yeah, Aaron, you have to look at our stack size here, right? We only have 2,600 chips going to the flop, so we're going to check and then check call and then check and check call again. A jack on the turn gives us an open-ended straight draw. It does, but a jack on the turn nails our opponent's ranges, right? If we get a jack on the turn, we are we're not happy. That's very, very bad for us. Wasn't this a 5 big blind raise? No, we're playing 50-100 pre-flop. 50-100 pre-flop, so it's a 2.5 big blind raise. Michael says 2 overcards will probably even call you if you lead. Yeah, I mean, if they're sitting here with queen jack or king queen with a king of clubs, they may even float. What do we think the initial raiser would bet if we check here? Probably mostly better hands, right? I mean, that's what I was discussing earlier. Alan says, if it checks through, can we assume no one has a 9? I mean, I don't think you can definitively assume that no one has a 9, but it's way less likely, right? 9s should definitely want to bet this flop. Any merit in overbetting? So some better hands like ace-jack will fold. Ace-jack is not a better hand. We beat ace-jack here. Ace-jack is a worse hand. Do we lead with a 10 or a 9? We should be leading here with our best made hand. Listen, the times you want to lead are when you have a very strong hand that you're happy getting all the money in with, or a draw. And some of your draws need to be draws that are drawing really thin. Like in this scenario, I would not actually be bluffing with any bad draws, but if it was heads up in this spot, maybe you want to lead with hands like jack 7 of spades. It's a hand that you can bet, and if you get raised, you can fold. And you also want to be leading with some really good draws that you're happy to get it in with. But usually you're leading whenever you want to have some fold equity, or when you have a very strong hand that is also susceptible to getting outdrawn. So right here, 9 would be a pretty nice hand to lead. So Louis says, when do we fold? Well, like I said, if we check to the initial raiser bets, and either of these players call, we're definitely folding immediately. Just way too likely we're beat. If the initial raiser bets, I think it actually still could just be a fold, which sounds nitty, but multi-way you have to be very, very cautious. If the cutoff, I'm sorry, the hijack or the button bets, then I would be pretty inclined to call and then not fold on the turn if it's a safe card, not an ace, a king, or a jack. If we have 10-9, is it okay to slow play? Sure. Do we lead any street? Do we lead any street versus any player? I mean, honestly, you don't even need to have much of a leading range, but I just outlined when you want to lead. You want to lead when you have really strong but susceptible hands. Like right here, say you had king 9 offsuit, right? It's pretty susceptible to getting outdrawn, so you don't mind leading. And if you lead and someone raises, it's fine, right? You just get all your money in. And then if you want to lead with some draws that are very nut heavy and also some draws that can lead and then fold. Does the board pairing hurt our equity against aces and kings? Well, yeah, but I mean, you have to presume they're going to bet ace. First off, these two callers don't have aces or kings, right? Do we ever lead with a marginal made hand? No, leading marginal made hands is terrible. Don't lead marginal made hands. Get that out of your repertoire for exactly these reasons listed here. All right, so now what happens here? Well, nickel bets again on the turn. He puts himself all in. He gets a club on the turn, which, you know, he may think is actually a good turn, but I think it's quite bad because I still don't think anyone's folding an overpair. In this scenario, he bet and the initial raiser called. So initial raiser's range is going to be what? It's going to be mostly overpairs. It's also going to be hands like flush draws. And then it's going to be hands like queen jack. Maybe ace of clubs jack, maybe. Ace of clubs queen, ace of clubs king. Maybe hands like that. Maybe hands like pocket eights that made a bad call. Calling with pocket ace would be terrible. Dustin says, no one ever folds an overpair here. Yeah, I agree. So in this scenario, nickel went all in. Let's talk about this, right? Especially when many draws arrive on the turn and you have a very obvious marginal made hand. I want to make it clear, this is a marginal made hand. We do not have the nuts. You want to check to induce bluffs. If we do check this turn, by the way, we're not folding at this point because we now have a decent amount of equity with the queen of clubs. Whenever we do check call, though, we're not happy about it. The problem is we're getting such a good price. And this turn should look quite scary for us, especially if our opponent thinks we lead with mostly marginal made hands. So in this scenario, we definitely want to check and then check call. So we're bluff catching at this point. If King 9 is vulnerable to being outdrawn, why are we happy to get all in if we're raised? Because we have the best hand, right? Whenever you have King 9, you're going to have 60, 65% equity against your opponent's range. When you have 60 or 65% equity, you want to get it in. You're thrilled to get it in. This just started bad. Yeah, well, we're going to talk about this. Even a river club is not good for nickel. That is exactly right. This is just not a good spot. Would folding preflop be a good idea? No, you need to call preflop to getting very good odds. And closing the action. You just, folding too tight would be a little bit, or folding preflop would be a little bit too tight. Simon says you just stack someone using this technique as we're reviewing it. Good job, good work. If he had ace of clubs 10, would this be any better? No, because listen, the fact that he has the 10 makes his hand a very, very clear marginal made hand, right? And with marginal made hands, you want to check to get your opponent to stick around with all of their junk. Again, a lot of people are deathly afraid of being outdrawn. Like, that's the worst thing that could possibly happen to them in the whole world. And they are willing to give up so much equity in exchange for not getting outdrawn. Like right here, people are more than happy to jam saying, yep, I want to get him to fold a king of clubs or an ace of clubs. Not realizing when you get called, you're just almost dead. Or you have 20% equity or something like that. Does ace X dominate you on paired boards? I'm not sure what you're asking, Darren. Losing pots causes physical pain. Don't you know that? Yeah, that's right. If your check is, and you bet, if you check and your opponent bets, do we still call? Yes. Well, right here, notice, we only have 80% pot, so we're shallow stacked, right? All right, so anyway, in this scenario, again, as on the flop, betting the turn, jamming the turn especially, forces the opponent to play well. When they have you beat, they're going to call every time. And whenever you have the best hand, they're going to fold, right? At least here, we do get the opponent to fold out like a random king of clubs. But again, think about all the combinations of hands we lose to. Aces, kings, queens, jacks, ace 10, king 10, right? We lose to all those. We lose to any 9. We lose to any flush. All that we're beating here that we don't really care if it folds is exactly ace high with a club or king high with a club, which our opponent may not even call with on the flop, right? And if our opponent has something like pocket eights, they're going to fold. So this is just such a bad spot to shove. Easy, easy, easy check. Again, you make money when your opponents mess up. And right here, jamming forces them to play well. Interestingly enough, in this scenario, the opponent folded, so he probably just had a really bad float on the flop. But this is definitely not a good strategy. Dustin says, maybe you can get called by Jack 10 with a club. Yeah, maybe 10-8, right? Maybe 10-8 calls you. So yeah, sure, there are a hand or two that can call you that you're ahead of. But even then, if you check, a lot of people just bet their Jack 10 for the same reason Nickel bet his Queen 10, because he didn't want to get outdrawn, right? Is it likely villain has 10s? It's very unlikely the villain has 10s, because there's only one combination of that. Tread lightly with this type of hand. Yeah, marginal made hands, you need to be treading lightly. Very, very lightly. When should you not be defending Queen 10 out of the big blind? You should be defending Queen 10 pretty much every time to a 2.5 big blind raise. What if your opponent goes all in? Do we call? Well, here if we check, yes, and our opponent goes all in for 80% pot, we call. And that's it. And sometimes we win, sometimes we lose. But at least then we induce bluffs. And we'd induce overvalues. Like, for all we know, the guy has 7-6. I'm sorry, has pocket sixes and made a bad float on the flop. And if we check, he may think, okay, he probably doesn't have anything, so now I'm going to try to bluff him. And then he goes all in and you snap him off and he's drawing nearly dead. That's going to happen a lot whenever you check. But whenever you jam, the guy can't fold. How many combinations of 10-9 does villain have? Well, not very many, right? But yes, if we check here, I'm pretty much always calling. What if it's more than pot? Then it becomes closer to a fold, but that's not the situation we're in, right? You have to be very careful analyzing very different situations because they are different, right? Like if you check here and your opponent bets 4 times the size of the pot, obviously you fold queen 10. If they bet 2 times the size of the pot, you probably fold queen 10. Would it be better if queen 10 was suited? Yeah, but you don't get to pick your cards, right? At what level do you fold to a push? Pretty much no level. I mean, I'm not sure what you mean by level. What, blind level? That doesn't really matter. I'm just never folding here if I check. Why are people all afraid of the least likely hands? Yeah, I mean, look, there's one combination of 10s. How many combinations of 10-9 are there? We'll teach you about combinations, right? In this scenario, you want to count how many... Well, first off, is our opponent playing all the unpaired or the paired versions? So if you look at 10-9, how many combinations of 10-9 suited are there? Well, it's only 10-9 of hearts, right? Because we have the diamond, club's on the board, and spade is on the board. So it's only 10-9 of hearts. So one combination of that. What if he plays all combinations of 10-9, which would be terrible? Guy only plays 11% of hands, so he's probably not playing all the 10-9s. But let's say he does. What you do is you take the number of 10s you see, right? We see 2 10s. That means there are 2 left in the deck, right? Okay, 2 10s left. How many 9s do we see? There are 2 9s. That means there are 2 left in the deck. 2 times 2 equals 4. So there are 4 combinations of 10-9 total that are available. You always want to multiply the number of available cards of one card by the number of available cards of the other card if they're playing all unsuited combinations. And that tells you how many combinations are remaining. I'm sorry, what happened pre-flop? A raise and a bunch of callers. So anyway, opponent folded here and nickel won a pot. And that's the thing, is that whenever people make these mistakes, they don't really think anything about it. Because they won the hand, right? They must have done it right. And that's what causes a lot of players trouble. They play hands and they play them poorly and they work out sometimes. And when they work out, you're like, okay, yeah, that was good. And when they don't work out, what a lot of people do, especially if they're very recreational, is they blame bad luck, or they blame their, they blame the dealer. They blame the site. They just think they're unlucky, right? And that's it. All right. Now let's go through one more. Failing to think ahead. This hand was absurdly bad. This is the worst one of the bunch. Worse than opening to 27 big blinds with ace-queen offsuit. Figure that one out. All right, here we go. Let's think about this, right? So here, in this scenario, under the gun, limps, and then nickel makes it 315. Okay? Nickel had a very, very difficult, or very, very, very clear leak where he played any ace. He thought any ace was good. We plugged that leak. Don't worry. Remember, this is the guy who told me he was card dead. And, he used to play ace-5 offsuit for no good reason. So, ace-5 offsuit facing a limp is just a fold. Do not play this hand. So in this scenario, this player limps. We're playing roughly, 60 big blinds deep, give or take. And nickel min raises. So this is about the worst thing you could do. Because when you min raise, the opponent's always going to call you. Literally every single time. When you raise a limp to a tiny amount, you have literally no fold equity. And especially with the garbage, you desperately need fold equity, right? Like here, you're going to get multiple callers. You just have no fold equity. So you're essentially raising, just putting money in poorly. Because ace-5 is behind a random range. Like at least a reasonable range that's limping. Dean says it's pretty much just a check. Well, so it's a call, essentially. But it opens the door for re-raises, which is just miserably bad. All right, now, he makes it 315, folds back around to the initial raiser who limp re-raises to 1,300. Well, now, very, very, very easy fold, right? We made a bluff. It failed. Okay, fine, fold. Mark says, how much do we want to raise if we want to raise the limper? I would make it about the size of the pot, which in this scenario would be, I don't know, it says right here, 810. So, oh, no, that's not right. This is not the pot. The pot would be 3 times the last bet. So 450 times 3, I'm sorry, 150 times 3 is 450 plus any additional money in the pot. So 450 plus 150, so that's 600, plus another 200. So that would be 800 would be a pot size raise in this scenario. So I'd make it about 800, maybe even a little bit more. Okay. What is the limp re-raiser's range? I don't know, but it's probably really, really, really good, right? So the thing is like, say we were in the scenario with a hand like, I don't even know, 10-9 suited. Maybe in some world you could justify calling, because then at least your hand's going to flop kind of well. That said, you should still just fold, because when people limp re-raise, they have literally aces, kings, queens, jacks, and ace-king every time. I promise you. Unless they're a lunatic. And this guy is not a lunatic. Take a look at this guy's stats. I mean, the relevant stats are VPIP is 19, pre-flop raise is 12. mean, 12% of playing 12% of hands is just super duper nitty. So this guy has the nuts. Before we move forward, Jay says, how is it 800 to win at 75, 150? Well, I just told you, 3 times the last bet is 450, plus any additional money in the pot. This is the formula for a pre-flop pot size raise, and a pot size raise in any scenario. 3 times the last bet, plus whatever else is in the pot. Last bet is 150, so that's 450, plus 150, 600, plus, I'm calling this 200, it's actually 195, so forgive me. So 795 is a pot size raise. Are those players just going to lose in the long run? The ones, well, let's see. I see a lot of people jamming over the top online with smaller aces and getting called by Beth. Yeah, I mean, this is just a terrible play. Whenever you get called here, you're just dead. All right, so let's see what nickel does. Easy fold, easiest fold in the world, nickel. Come on. Mikey says 9% 3-bet or no 4-bet. So yeah, 3-bet percent is 9, 4-bet is 0. This guy's a nit, right? This is the exact type of opponent you don't want to do this against. Okay. What does nickel do? He calls, he takes a flop, and then he gets about the best flop in the world for him. He flops the nut flush draw and an overcard, right? What more do you want in life? I mean, in this scenario, it's your opponent's most likely hand are going to be overpairs with or without a heart. So this is the dream flop. All right, his opponent bets 2,400. I mean, you could call or shove. I think shoving's probably just better because you will get some random hands to fold. Like, say he has ace jack offsuit or something absurd, maybe he'll fold. But, I mean, listen, we're not happy. Normally when you have a draw like this and you don't think you have much fold equity, you should just call. But I do think we have some fold equity against ace-king offsuit and ace-queen offsuit. But clearly we didn't have it this time because the guy called with ace-king offsuit. As, to be fair, he probably should due to his amazing odds. And we still lose. So nickel got essentially the best flop in the world, playing a terrible hand. When you flop the best hand in the world, you at least want to be a decent favorite, right? But in this scenario, you probably had, I don't even know, 40% equity, give or take. So flops the nuts, only has 40%. I mean, this is just miserably bad, right? You cannot make this play. And I want to reiterate that a lot of people play this way, but if they are open-minded and want to learn and they are willing to change, they will get better. And you have to remember, this player who's making these plays just a few months ago has since won a poker tournament online, made day 2 of a 25K, and he just took 6th place in another tournament that had, I don't even know how many people, right? And that's because he was willing to learn. He transformed his game. Someone says the best flops are ace 5-5. Well, yeah, obviously, right? But listen, you're not going to get 5-5 on the flop all that often. Yeah, I mean, we're not speaking in very specific terms, but this is a very good flop for ace-5 offsuit. You're very happy with this flop. Does fold equity equal the amount of times the opponent folds to a bet? Not exactly. That's beyond the scope of this. I don't have the math lined up, so we're not going to discuss it here, but I do discuss it in my books and at pokercoaching.com. Would you limp ace-5 behind pre-flop? No. With ace-6, we can still be outkicked. Yes. Dean says he played 2 tournaments yesterday, took a 3rd and an 8th. Good job, good work. All right. So, remember, nickel was making lots of errors, and now he has had great results because we put in just 15 sessions together. And to be fair, we never even interacted in like a live coaching session. We would send videos back and forth. But we had never actually even had a coaching session. This was just purely for me reviewing his play. And he got a million times better. I mean, these 3 mistakes happened within 41 hands, right? And by the time I was finished reviewing his hands, he would have a mistake like every 50 hands, every 100 hands, 1 mistake. And even then, I was nitpicking by the end. Like, yeah, you can make it a big blind less, or, you know, maybe you overplayed this hand a little bit, but probably not such a big deal, et cetera, et cetera. Everyone keeps asking, like, should we be raising this ace-5 offsuit? No, just fold. Does he play tighter now? He plays way tighter now. Does he pick his spots better? He definitely picks his spots better. I mean, he's a million times a better poker player. He's won a tournament by playing well since this. I reviewed the hand history, I'm pretty sure. And he's playing great. So, let me ask you a question here. We just went over 3 big mistakes a small player makes. Small stakes players make. And, we only went over 40 hands, or I think it was 40 hands so far. Let me just take a look. That was just going through 41 hands, right? Out of 350 something. And I found many, many, many more that, I thoroughly outlined to Nickel, but we're not going to have time to go through today. And you have to understand, whenever you're looking at someone else's hand histories, that's actually really educational for you as the observer, especially if you know that you make the same mistakes that Nickel makes. Now, I definitely don't suspect that you all are making all of these same mistakes. I mean, a few of you here are saying that you do number 2 and number 3 all the time. Yeah. And some of you out there do number 1. And whenever you learn from other people's mistakes, it's a whole lot cheaper than having to get in there and learn from your own mistakes. And whenever I review a student's hand history, I very quickly pick up on 5 or 10 things, or more, depending on how bad they are, and I outline them very clearly. The student then corrects it, or doesn't. Nickel corrected all of the mistakes beautifully well. And then they just get way, way, way better, right? And that is how private coaching works in the ideal world. I mean, some people come to a coach and they think, oh, I want to have a course laid out or something like that. But no, you just need to get right in the weeds, figure out what the student does wrong, and fix it. And you do that by reviewing hands. So, like I said at the start of this webinar, I've actually done this a few times in the past. So, for all of you, if you're interested in learning and continuing to improve your games, I have put together the Ultimate Coaching Bundle. So, here's what you're going to get if you are interested in this Ultimate Coaching Bundle. You're going to get these 15 hand reviews we did with Nickel to prepare for this $25,000 buy-in tournament. It's over 6 hours of coaching, and I identify and plug lots and lots and lots of his leaks. So, we're going to be selling that for $299, but don't worry, we're going to be able to get a bit of a discount today. Before we move forward, here's another one of my students who recently won $1.3 million. He was on the Joe Ingram podcast because he turned a $5 buy-in in a satellite to $1.3 million. And Joe Ingram said, is Doug Polk one of the main sources of poker content you watch? He's like, yeah, I watched some of his stuff, but also Jonathan Little. I watched the most content from him and his webinars and his training videos, and turns out he studied from me all the time. I mean, again, this is just another player, just like perhaps many of you out there who's working hard on his game. Not necessarily doing anything like private coaching that's super expensive, but he was actively working hard to improve his game, and he got humongously rewarded. And since then, I have been talking to him, and he has his life under control now. He is set for life. He is not going to be any sort of degenerate gambler playing huge, and he's set for life because he has worked hard on his game and studied for me. And I mean, that's fantastic. So I had another opportunity to coach a student, kind of like Nickel. A guy named Wayne came to me. He somehow, I don't even know how this happened, won his seat into a $1 million sit and go. Okay? The winner of this sit and go got $1 million. Everyone else got like 15K or something. This was some promotion that Party Poker and Borgata Poker did in New Jersey. And same story, right? He came to me. He had a good story. He's like, yeah, I study your stuff. I won my way into this sit and go, where my equity is like 115K or something. Will you coach me? So I decided, sure. Same deal, right? I'll coach you for free if I can use it and share the recordings with my students. So we did that. In that game, he actually got a little bit unlucky right at the beginning. I think he busted first. He got it all in with kings against ace king. So what do you want, right? It's a little bit frustrating whenever you put in 12 hours of coaching that I did with Wayne and got all in with kings against ace king, was out of there, but that's okay. That's some bubble. Yeah, that is indeed some bubble. All right. So in the Ultimate Coaching Bundle, we're also going to include all 12 hours of those videos. Here's another one of my students. The most recent World Series of Poker circuit event that took place in Sacramento, the Thunder Valley Poker Room. Thomas here won $193,000. Not bad, right? For I think it was, I don't even know what the buy-in was. It wasn't a ton. I think it was $1,500. and he beat 608 people. Again, one of my students, I actually had breakfast with him in Vegas last summer. If you're a member of my training site, pokercoaching.com, I always send an email before the World Series, and we make a point to get together and have breakfast. Last year we had about 40 people there at the, what's it called? The Hash House a Go-Go, I think, at the World Series. Thomas was there. We had a great breakfast, and now he has $193,000 in his pocket. And that's fantastic. That is what we are doing for our students. He thanks me and the Assassinato, who is Alex Fitzgerald, who is also one of the coaches at my site, pokercoaching.com. So again, fantastic work. Something else you're going to get in the Ultimate Coaching Bundle. I had another student, Andres, who won an $11 online tournament that had 5,000 people. And together we did a one-on-one coaching session where I went through every single hand in that. So you're also going to be getting that as part of the Ultimate Coaching Bundle. Here's another one of my students just a few days ago again. Well, I guess a month and a half ago at this point. It was his birthday. So, for his birthday, he decided to go and play a poker tournament. And, he won. He took first place in event number 18 of the Maryland State Poker Championship. I mean, you all have to realize these are just regular people out there who are working hard on their game. And if these people can do it, you all can do it too. So, a few more things you can get as part of the Ultimate Coaching Bundle. A long time ago, I say a long time ago, but I don't know, 5 years or so ago, it was an interesting idea. This is something the students paid me $997 for. Basically, every student would get 1 hour of private coaching, but there would also be 9 other students there watching the webinar, kind of like you're all watching now, except for I would be on the line with someone. And basically, everyone got access to 10 hours of coaching for the price of, $997, right? And it's a heck of a value, really. So we did that. That's also going to be part of the bundle. That was so successful, we did it again, except for we did it with 13 different students and way longer sessions. This includes over 40 hours of one-on-one coaching that, again, these students paid $1,497 for. And again, all of these students, they all agreed that I could share this with everyone else in the future if I felt inclined. And, well, here we are. It's time to share it with all of you. So here's what you're going to get. The 25K Platinum Coaching Session with Nickel, the $1 million coaching with Wayne, the one-on-one coaching webinar with Andres, the Poker Video Vault, and the Extreme Video Vault. Now, think about this, right? It's very important. If all you did was just eliminate one mistake from your game, what would that be worth? And again, like I said, everyone really only has 3 or 4 or 5 mistakes if you're doing okay at poker. If you can eliminate even one of those, you're going to be a way bigger winner. And once you start making a few less mistakes in your normal tournaments, what is it worth to make just one more final table? Just one, right? In your whole life. Well, that's worth a pretty good amount, right? Dustin says, my books have paid for themselves many times over. Yeah, I mean, that's the goal. And again, what if you are a cash game player out there and you could book one more winning session each month? Like, what is that worth? Imagine you win or lose, let's say, $200 every time you play. What if you just had, instead of 1 minus 200 day, a plus 200 day? And that really is what you can do if you plug your leaks and get way better. So here is the Platinum Coaching Bundle. $887 in value. You can get it today for $99 at pokercoaching.com/bundle. Make sure the code PLATINUM is used. Now, you actually have only 3 choices. First, you can do nothing. Keep doing what you do, play your best, and you're going to keep getting the results that you have been getting, which, may be fine for you, or maybe it's not so fine for you. Option 2, this is what some people do. I actually had a private coaching session this morning. You can hire me for one-on-one private coaching for $500 an hour. And that may sound expensive, but to be fair, I've spent over $20,000 for private coaching over my career, and it has been well worth it. Every time I go to learn a new game, I make a point to find a coach at that game, because I realize that if I have to spend $5,000 or $10,000 to learn a game and it takes me a month instead of a year, then, that's just like free money, right? It's just completely free. And poker coaching is really incredibly cheap for what you get, because it's not, don't look at it as you paying for someone for 1 hour of their time. You have to look at it as More of you're paying someone for exactly the information you need that would have taken you significantly longer to learn yourself. Or, option 3, you can get the Ultimate Coaching Bundle for $99, which again is really, really cheap compared to private coaching. And also for 60 hours of content, what is that? $1.50 an hour? $1.50 an hour to watch me coach students privately that is plugging the specific leaks that they have. And I guarantee you, in all those 60 hours, there's probably someone in that group that is exactly like you. And find them, we'll plug the leaks, and you will become a much better player. So, again, that's what you're going to get. The Platinum Coaching Sessions with Nickel, which I thought were great. I was actually really happy with Nickel sessions because after the first hand history, you saw some of the hands, I was like, oh my God, this guy is awful. Am I going to literally have to tell this guy to sit here and play like the top 5% of hands and not do anything ridiculous? But no, he was a smart guy, right? He just didn't take poker seriously. He was goofing off when he played poker before, and now he takes it seriously and he's winning tournaments. Do you get to download these? Yes, you get to download all these. These are all online products. We will give you access to a web page where you can download all of it. So it's not like you have to be online to watch it or anything like that. You download it, it is yours. How long before this expires? Go to the website, pokercoaching.com/bundle. I believe it expires in a few days, but you might as well take advantage of it now. No, these are not DVDs. These are online downloads. Online downloads are amazing because you can't lose them. Well, to be fair, I guess you could lose your computer or something. If you lose your computer and you somehow forget the website, send me an email and we will give you access to it again. How much more will this help you than poker coaching? Well, these are different, right? Poker coaching has interactive quizzes, which I think is very important. And also it has homework challenges, which is very similar to in-depth private coaching as well. I mean, I've tried to simulate private coaching the best I can with all of you because I know that is what allowed me to get good at poker. And I know that $500 an hour is too much for most people. I mean, I get that, right? So I'm trying to figure out ways to allow you to get simulated one-on-one coaching for me at a tiny price. And again, $1.50 an hour is pretty cheap. If you do want more in-depth coaching, we actually have the Inner Circle. We have Mark here, he's a member of it, and Alan here, he's a member of it, where they have call-in sessions every 2 weeks where you can call in and ask me your questions live. And you can find information for that at pokercoaching.com/inner circle. If you get float the turn, if you get poker coaching, you do. Please show the link again. Here it is, pokercoaching.com/bundle. Make sure you use code platinum. Yes, you will be able to get this tomorrow if you would like to. A guy playing $2 no limit. Is this the best bang for your buck compared to one-on-one coaching? Yes. Don't pay $500 for an hour of coaching if you're playing tiny stakes online. That would be a very, very bad mistake because that's a huge chunk of your bankroll, right? And to be fair, if you're playing $2 no limit online and you don't have a job and you don't actually poker's not a huge aspiration for you, well, you should probably just watch my free videos on YouTube and sign up for a free trial to pokercoaching.com, right? Because listen, if you have $200 to your name, you don't need to give away 100 of it. That would be ridiculous. So honestly, that's what you need to do, right? I mean, look, at the end of the day, I do have bills to pay. It takes me tons of time to make this content. I mean, look, this is 60 hours worth of content, right? And it is definitely very valuable, but I want to make sure that I can give it to you at a price that is not completely giving it away because, we actually do want dedicated students here. And that said, I have plenty of free resources to the point where if you cannot beat $2 no limit with the resources I'm already giving you, well then maybe poker's not right for you. Some of you are already purchasing. Well, good job. I'm glad that you're getting a hold of it, and I hope you learn a ton. You're looking for heads-up strategies. I have a book, Excelling at No Limit Hold'em, with a chapter by one of the best heads-up players in the world, Olivier Bousquet. Check that out. You can find that at hold'embook.com. Someone says, John, I got babies. We need a discount. Well, first off, we already have a discount. It's supposed to be $887. You're getting it for $99. But also, hey, I got babies. All right. So if any of you have questions, feel free to type them in. I saw a few questions earlier. Someone said, Alex, I just had pocket nines on the button in middle position raised to 1,200 off of a 15 big blind stack. You shove. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so a guy min raise, you shove. That's fine. Don't worry about that. Sometimes you're going to lose when you have 15 big blinds. You are supposed to lose with your best hands. How are these people getting these hands recorded? Well, they're playing online. At least Nickel was. A lot of other people, though, they are writing down their hands. And I have a video on how to write down hands. You can find it at jonathanlittlepoker.com/notes. Let's see if I can type that in. Is that working? For some reason, it's not working. Huh, it's not letting me type. All right, well, jonathanlittlepoker.com/notes. When does type become too tight? I mean, listen, you really don't need to be blinding out. Some people think they're supposed to blind out. Blinding out is a terrible, terrible mistake. You need to be very active. And, you know, in reality, I would definitely suggest you study my book, Mastering Small Stakes, No Limit Hold'em. That will teach you to not be too tight. I'm not going to sit here and go through in-depth hand ranges right now because, well, this is beyond the scope of what we're doing right now, right? Queen, jack of spades. You open to 3 big blinds, got 3 callers. King, 10, 8. Should you lead out? Well, first off, the term lead out is not the term, right? In this scenario, when you are betting as the preflop raiser, you are continuation betting. That is not a lead. That is a continuation bet, okay? Lead is when you bet into the aggressor on the previous street. Anyway, is Queen Jack a good draw on King 10, 8? Yeah, it's pretty good. So either you want to be betting it or you want to be check raising it, almost certainly. What other book should we get in addition to Secrets of Professional Tournament Poker Volumes 1 to 3? Mastering Small Stakes, No Limit Hold'em is what I would suggest. All right. Do you think it's much harder for U.S. players to turn into winning players compared to the rest of the world? Yes. Yes, I do think so. And that's because they have a more difficult time putting in volume, right? But that said, you can still do it. There are good American players who succeed on a very regular basis. Are all these videos available at pokercoaching.com with a monthly subscription? No, they are not. This is an exclusive thing I'm offering just for you all today. You can get it at pokercoaching.com/bundle. It's completely separate. Is there any mental leaks for... Wait. Oh, so you're saying, are there any mindset things in these coaching sessions? Yes, there absolutely is. I mean, to be fair, the coaching session I had today, for example, was a lot of mindset and bankroll issues. So, you know, yeah, that is thoroughly discussed. You played in a tournament, you played in the main event, you busted set over set. Yeah, well, tough cookies, huh? Listen, when you get set over set, you're supposed to lose. Don't think you're supposed to make some hero fold, right? What if you're doing reasonably well at low stakes and are looking to move up? Well, then this is exactly what you need. With all the content that Jonathan Little puts out, hardly any time for playing. Yeah, well, to be fair, I do put out a lot of content. Let's see. Now you need to put in more volume. But what advice do we have for being card dead in tournaments? I actually have a video, Joe, at pokercoaching.com. It's called How to Thrive When Card Dead, where I get like no cards in a tournament. I believe that's what that one goes through. And I still do decently well just by doing my best to pick spots. But listen, whenever you get no cards, you're probably just going to lose. And, you know, that's okay, right? You have to understand, you're not going to win every tournament. You just can't. Juan, send us an email at support@pokercoaching.com pertaining to if you already have some of these. Keith, I'm not sure about that. Let's see. What advice would I give you to incorporate 3-betting into your game? Well, you just have to do it. First off, you want to ask, what is the purpose of 3-betting my particular opponent? Or do we think they're going to fold to 3-bets, or are they going to call every time? If they're going to call every time, then you want to be 3-betting with just the best hands. Because when you 3-bet ace-10 suited and they call with ace-4 offsuit, well, you're crushing them, right? If they're going to be folding a lot, though, or 4-betting you, then you can 3-bet with a different range, right? So it really does depend a lot on your opponent's strategies. But we do discuss this thoroughly at pokercoaching.com. And again, you can get a completely free trial for that. Fred said, you did mistake number 2 the other day. 2 lempers at 500 to 1,000. You have 8,500 on the button with king 10 suited and just min raised. Yeah, you got to go all in. Under the gun called with 9-2 suited. It comes 6-2-2. Yeah, you had a very clear marginal made hand or even junk on the flop, and you decided to put the money in, and yeah, you said you played it like a fish. Well, good. I'm glad that you realized that. So don't do that again. You just have to stop doing that. How long is this offer up for? Go to pokercoaching.com/bundle. It is there. Have you ever seen someone limp re-raise with garbage? I actually did see this lady at Bellagio one time. She limp re-raised about 5 times in a row. Okay? She did it 5 times in a row. Eventually, someone called her, I think with pocket sevens or something, and she had 10-9 offsuit. Lost the flip, and then berated the player because she said, you know I have to have aces to limp re-raise, right? She did not realize that she had done this multiple times in a row. So obviously she doesn't have aces every time. Jim, yes, how to thrive when you're running bad. That is it. Who's the winner of the giveaway? We are waiting for him to confirm his Twitter handle, but we have already discussed the winner of the giveaway. By the way, everyone who doesn't know, every month I give away, well, now I've been giving away recently every month, about a $1,000 buy-in tournament seat. This one was for the Mid-States Poker Tour. We've done it for the Heartland Poker Tour, Charity Series of Poker. I'm sure we're going to do something for the World Series coming up. So make sure you're on my email list. Make sure you follow me on social media because we are giving away literally thousands of dollars for free just because I appreciate all of you. And, you know, selfishly, I realize eventually one of you is going to go out there and you're going to win some tournament. It's going to make for a great story. On the ace-5 hand, does it make sense to limp behind with ace-5 suited? Sure, limp behind with ace-5 suited. If you're going to raise, you should raise, again, much, much bigger. So, yeah. Did some of these sessions go over 3-betting? Oh, absolutely, Brian. 3-betting is a vitally important skill. Robin's saying, can you ask a question? Yes, Robin, ask your question. What are good hand range guidelines for beginners? Go to pokercoaching.com. We discussed this thoroughly. Was the villain correct to call nickel shove on this hand where he had ace-king? I think so. At that point, he was getting great pot odds, and nickel could just have ace-king, ace-queen, ace-jack with a heart, and he's in fine shape. What strategy we recommend for the first hour of a rebuy tournament that's crazy? Just play normally. Maybe call a little bit looser than normally, but you don't need to go nuts just because everybody else is going nuts. Christopher says you're looking for in-depth analysis on draws. Well, Christopher, go through the homework challenges. We discuss how to play your whole range, not just draws, all the time. Your biggest problem is getting in the zone. We had a question about that. Someone sent in. They say you struggle with finding yourself on autopilot all the time. Specifically, you're not thinking about things when you're actually at the table. And that is a big problem. I think that you have to realize that when you're playing poker, poker is the most important thing in the world to you. You also need to take note of what you know you need to focus on and then actually focus on it. A lot of people, they autopilot for no reason. They know they need to be thinking about these things. They're studying, but then they get to the table and then they just don't. And you need to set up systems to force you to think about the things that are relevant. And if you find that maybe you're overwhelmed with all the things you should be thinking about, take it slow, right? Start by thinking of just one of them. Like say you want to keep track of everyone's stack sizes. The next time you play, that is your whole job. And if that's your whole job, then maybe you'll do it pretty well. And then once you get good at that, you can add more things like keeping track of the size of the pot or, well, figuring out hand ranges as you go. But you have to actively play hard instead of just sitting there and autopiloting. Christopher, no, it is not. Does it ever make sense to play ace-9 to ace-2 offsuit under any circumstances when deep stack? Sure, when you're like on the button and they fold to you, it's a great spot to do it. Pot size bet on the flop with a gut shot. Dean, I'm not sure what you're saying. What order should you watch these? Does it matter? No, it probably doesn't matter all that much. I would tell you to find a student who seems to be kind of like you and then focus on exactly what I'm telling that student, right? Is there any value in playing other games or any value for this in people who play other games? Well, if you play literally No Limit Hold'em, this is not the ideal package for you because we're teaching exactly No Limit Hold'em here. But no, really, I would say no because it's a very different game. If you know you don't play No Limit Hold'em at all, Unless you just want to hear me talk for 60 hours, or maybe you actually want to improve your no limit hold'em game, then this is not ideal. You always want to make sure you are consuming content and learning about the game of your choice. Any advice for playing circuit events? I mean, play well, study a lot, and play well. Did you hear that poker coaching members get access to float the turn? They do. You listen to music in headphones. Are you listening to music in your headphones to help you focus? If it works for you, it works for you. Should you raise or limp in? And I'm not sure what circumstances you're referring to. Are regular tables more profitable than Zoom? Absolutely. Zoom is full of very, very good regs. Robin, again, if you're playing a turbo tournament, just play good, fundamentally sound poker. Don't think you have to get in there and gamble just because everybody else is. Everybody else is losing because they're getting in there and gambling. What do you do to avoid coolers? You don't. Whenever you get coolered, you're going to lose the tournament. Sorry, that's just how poker works. Don't think you're supposed to be making gigantic hero folds. A good way to get a lot of min cashes and never win, and to be a consistent losing player, is to make very big hero folds on a regular basis. You just don't get enough good hands. Do I ever play smaller stakes tournaments? Not a ton. Am I playing the big 50? I am not. You bought 2 of my smaller stakes books. Are these similar to Mastering? No, not at all. The 2 small stakes books are very, very basic. This is my most basic offering, really. I have 2 small stakes books: Strategies for Beating Small Stakes Poker Tournaments and Strategies for Beating Small Stakes Poker Cash Games. And those are very, very basic. Mastering is, it's 500 pages long and quite in-depth. What are the best sites for online tournaments? Party Poker and PokerStars. Let's see. How long of a break does someone need to get away from running bad? Well, first off, you have to understand that you don't know if you're going to run bad on the next hand you play or not. You can only see that looking backwards. So don't even think like that. If you're thinking like that, you are using a very fishy mindset. The idea of, I'm on a downswing, so I should do something differently. Assuming you're playing very well, then you just keep playing well, right? Sometimes you're going to go on a downswing. Every professional poker player out there has gone on 40 or 50 buy-in downswings in tournaments with no cashes. It just happens. It's normal. What's a good card room to play on in America? Listen, I've said this a million times like a broken record. First off, do not keep any significant money on any site that operates within America that is unlicensed/unregulated, including America's Card Room, Ignition, Global Poker, the Chinese apps, PPP Poker, whatever. Do not keep significant money on these sites, because literally every site that's been open in America for more than roughly 5 years, besides exactly Ignition, to be fair, all of those sites have ran off with people's money. So keep like 1 buy-in on there, 2 buy-ins if you're going to play on those sites. Do not play on the sites unless you are happy getting robbed at some point. What is the mix of sit and goes, cash games, and tournaments in these 60 hours? I honestly do not know. But if you do purchase it and you find that you do not like it, ask us for a refund if you don't like it, and we will give you a refund. Would I recommend taking a notepad? Yes, Matthew, go to jonathanlittlepoker.com/notes and watch that video. That's exactly how I take notes at the table. How do you know if you're unlucky or if you're screwing up? You study. You study a ton. The great thing is you can be getting lucky and screwing up, and you can be getting unlucky and screwing up, right? And it's very difficult to know if you're playing well if you don't have a good system in place to analyze your game, which is what I teach at pokercoaching.com. Under the gun, lag raises 2 callers. We're in the small blind with ace queen. Should we squeeze? Almost certainly. Can you get the print version of Mastering if you got the ebook? No, those are different things, I believe. What would we consider small stakes? It's all relative. It's more of a classification of the opponents you're against. If your opponents are not really, really good, you're probably playing small stakes. Do you have to have patience to just go through the downswing? I mean, listen. The idea of... Well, first off, I think a lot of people who play poker think they're supposed to have way better results than they do. And you're going to have big downswings. It's normal. And it's not a time thing. It is a number of hands thing, right? The idea of, I'm going to take a week off and then maybe I'll get better cards. It doesn't work like that. The deck, it does not have a memory. The dealer's not out to get you or anything like this. It's just straight variance, right? You're going to have great variance sometimes. You're going to have awful variance sometimes. I mean, like I said, I personally have had 2 stretches of 40 tournaments in a row and no cashes. I've also had 2 stretches of, well, 2 tournaments back to back. Once I won them back to back, and the other ones I took second place back to back. And I mean, that happens, right? I had a year where I just like literally won every tournament, cash for like $3 million or something. And I've also had years where I've lost money because that is normal. That is very, very normal. You have to understand that that's normal. And this is me playing a very, very high amount of volume, right? A lot of people play a tournament a week, and here I am playing 200 tournaments a year. So I'm going to have clearly way less. Well, I'm going to get through the downswings way longer. I mean, like I said, you can go on a 40 buy-in downswing, and if you play 40 tournaments a year, that's a year of literally no cashes, and it's normal. It's important to understand variance. What's the best place to learn about meditation? I don't know, Google. We're not talking about meditation today. Will PokerStars be in America anytime soon? No. You have a much easier time playing aggressively at smaller stakes. For higher stakes, you tend to knit it up. Well, you need to play within your bankroll. Stop playing too big. If you play too big, you're going to make mistakes. How much should we alter your game when you're playing live versus online? You should play exactly the same, understanding that live players are a million times worse. They're usually calling stations. They usually don't bluff enough, whereas online players are generally all kind of good for various reasons, which we don't need to get into today. But online players typically are way better than online players are way better than live players. Let's see. The other day I said I don't really care about money. Yeah, that's true. Meaning I don't care about meaning not caring about winning or losing, or what? No, I just make a point to play the best I can possibly play. I don't care if I win or lose on the day. I just want to make sure I'm making the best plays that I possibly can. Kevin said he just signed up for the bundle. Good. He said it's an amazing value. Yeah, it is an amazing value. That's why I'm presenting it to you. What ratio of studying to playing should you be doing? It depends on your situation in life, right? PokerStars doesn't allow playing for American players for real money, so how do you use that site to win money? Well, I personally relocated to Canada, and then I had to relocate to Hungary, and I play when I'm out of the country. There's a site called Poker Refugees that will help you. Is there a specific order to watch these? No, like I said earlier, find someone who plays like you and figure out what they're doing wrong. You're trying to increase your aggression, but you're finding you tighten up when people are hitting against you. I mean, again, some people are going to get lucky sometimes, and that is part of life. Don't start playing a drastically different strategy just because people are getting lucky on you, and that's part of the game. Most tournaments have 20-minute levels. How should you adjust? You shouldn't really adjust all that much. Note-taking, where can you do it? JonathanLittlePoker.com/notes. Is Mastering Small Stakes on Audible? It is. You can find a lot of my audiobooks for free if you never sign up for Audible at JonathanLittlePoker.com/free. Most people don't realize they're just playing wrong and they're blaming it on bad luck. That is true. Should you be min-raising pre-flop? It depends on the stacks. Do you think playing bar poker against recreational players is bad for improving? No, it's good for learning to play against very bad players, right? As long as you realize the strategy you're using against those players is not the ideal strategy against good players, right? And you're going to find times where, like in the World Series, very often I'll be playing a $1,500 buy-in tournament. There's just someone who is awful there. And to be fair, I may not be the best person to play against these people because I have literally no experience playing with bar poker players. And so they're making these plays that are just, they seem completely random to me. But if you play with those players on a regular basis, you may know whenever they limp 7x preflop, they have a specific hand. And when they limp 20x preflop, they have a different hand. And maybe they bleed for the minimum and you know what that range looks like. And maybe I won't know about these things because I have little experience, right? So, but just realize that those are not good players, and that's not how you should be playing against everyone. Undergun raises 3x, you're on the button. Should you pop it to 6x? That's terrible. Michael, you always want to be raising to about the size of the pot pre-flop. Is it okay to play the nut flush draw aggressively, even if your opponent's range is strong? Probably not. Typically, you want to be playing your hands that don't have showdown value aggressively, and ace-high flush draw actually has a decent amount of showdown value and equity. It's very important to realize you should not be playing all draws the same. Don't think flush draws should all just be played in the same manner, because they're different. And you also want to make sure you have flushes in your raising range and your calling range whenever the card comes in. And if you always raise them or always call them, then one part of your range does not have flushes in it, and that's a very big problem. We discuss this over at pokercoaching.com, by the way. We discuss how to break down your draws between calls and raises. Very important skill that you need to master. What is a good sample size? Very, 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 very big for tournaments. Thousands and thousands or more. When should you raise preflop to 4x? Wait, what should you do when you raise to 4x preflop and get a bunch of callers in this crazy rebuy tournament? You should just play a very tight range and just make sure you're putting your money in as a heavy favorite. $100 big blinds deep, everyone folds you on the button. Are you basically raising 100% of the time? Absolutely not. I fold a lot here. Game theory optimal strategy is to raise about 50% of hands. If your opponents are going to 3-bet you a lot, you should be raising less. If they're going to be folding a lot, you should be raising more, perhaps up to 100%. How much should you be raising preflop in this bar game? I don't know. I don't have a ton of experience with that. If they're going to call you with literally all sorts of garbage, you should play like the top 10% of hands and make it a big preflop raise and just get lots of money in the pot as a big favorite. Listen, whenever you put money in the pot as a favorite, you win money. Does this training typically adjust tournament players' leaks? Absolutely, Ricardo. That's exactly what we're doing here. We are addressing the leaks of poker players. Some tournaments, some cash games. But again, this is 60 hours of content. I mean, like I said, it's $1.50 an hour, right? I can't make it a whole lot cheaper. And imagine that say you do only watch, say you only watch 1 hour. Say you find one good hour of content out of the 60. That's still way cheaper than private coaching from me. And also, like I said, if you just have one more deep run, I mean, one more men cash is worth $100 for most people. So it's essentially free. The great thing about poker coaching, especially like one-time poker coaching purchases, is that once you pay it, you're done, and then you just have that information for the rest of your life. I remember a long time ago, I was actually really nervous about this. I paid $5,000 to a good sit-and-go player for coaching, and I did the math. If I could increase my return on investment just by a few percentage points, I would pay that back within a month. And it turns out I increased it by like 4 percentage points and paid it back in 2 weeks. And then I continued making way more money for like the next 3 years before poker packed it up in America a long time ago. So coaching is a heck of a value, and I hope you all take advantage of this offer. Would you do a one-on-one coaching giveaway? Probably not. Maybe though. 4-bet with aces out of position. 6-3-2, half pot gets called. King on the turn, half pot again. River's a jack. What should we do? Probably jam. Checking could be fine too if your opponent's aggressive. Check and then check call. Early in tournament playing 100 big blinds deep. Were you playing any 2 cards on the button? No, absolutely not. We discussed this earlier. What do we think of Club WPT? I actually don't know much about Club WPT. I kind of view it as one of the essentially free sites. And again, it's kind of like playing bar poker, right? Not a great spot to learn to play against good players, but you learn to play against bad players. It may be even a little bit worse, though, because a lot of people are playing like it is legitimate play money. And legitimate play money is really, really not ideal. On the poker coaching quizzes, how do we determine if we're good or bad based on our percentage score? I mean, very often, if you're getting the best or the second best answer, you're probably doing pretty good. You're noticeably better in tournaments than cash games. Well, then you say, well, you're not actually that good at either. Yeah. 1-3 cash game, lag player goes all in, heads up. For $200, you call with jacks, and he has queens. Is that the wrong play? So a player goes all in, heads up. Well, again, we need to know what happened pre-flop. We need to know what happened on the flop. You give me no information. Go to jonathanlittlepoker.com/notes and write down exactly what happened. Would I recommend buying this even though you have a lot of content to work through on poker coaching now? Well, if you already are going through pokercoaching.com and you already have a 3-year membership to that, and you know you don't have any more time to study, and you know that maybe you don't like this format for some reason, then no, this is probably not for you. But again, it's, as Michael says, essentially bonus material that you can go through, and it's an easy way to change things up, right? It's an easy way to mix up your study. It's also a good way if you can find someone in the 60 hours of coaching who plays kind of like you. It's essentially like getting private coaching from me then, right? And that's definitely what I suggest you do. You're trying to eliminate limping from your game. Yeah, get rid of it. The only time you limp is when you limp behind. Yes, limp behind with drawing hands. That's it. Absolutely never open limp. Is this a good idea? Yes, don't open limp. All right. Let's see. We'll be signing up for pokercoaching.com. Good. Glad to hear that. Thanks for helping you expand your knowledge. Well, you're very, very lucky. Michael says you do 2 hours a day on poker coaching. Well, you'll get through it eventually. The quizzes and the weekly poker hands are the best. Great. For those who do not know, I have a podcast called Weekly Poker Hand. You can find it on the iTunes podcast store and all the other podcast apps where I go through a hand every week. Recently I've been going through live poker hands, or live cash game hands, and some live tournament hands, I guess, but mostly live cash game hands, so check that out. Al, again, you're saying you're not really giving me a good answer, or you're not telling me what happened in this hand. You just keep saying you went all in and you lost. I mean, you need to know what happens pre-flop. It went raise, 3-bet, min 4-bet, min 5-bet, 6-bet all in and call. Yeah, you played it horribly. If someone just open rips it in for $200 and they're doing that a lot, it's an easy call, right? So it's not just as easy as I got it in pre-flop and I lost. It's not how poker works. That's not how ranges work. Early in a tournament, middle position raises a 3x, button call, small blind calls. We're in the big blind with 9-8 suited. Do we call? Yes, absolutely. Always call. 9-8 offsuit you should probably call. Just because you're getting great odds. What's the best advice for those who grind but have a little one at home? It's tough. How do you adequately balance your life? You have to find what works for you. Figure out what your family is fine with. Quite often your kids go to sleep, right? Find time that works for you. I would generally say to try to not play when the kids are awake unless it's something like a very important tournament. So try to figure out a way to play in your free time, and maybe your kids are out doing things at some point. If your kids are out doing things, then maybe that's a good time to get out there and do. Maybe that's a good time to play poker. Do I have any content on live tells? I've worked with the main tells expert, Zach Elwood. There are 2 of his webinars on tells available in pokercoaching.com. So check those out. What do we think about the Big 50 tournaments? I don't really have any thoughts on it. It's another poker tournament. Do I have any content leading up to it? Oh, this looks like a good thing to lead up to it. Yes, it definitely does. I mean, listen, I don't get too hyped up about any individual tournament, but it definitely is a great way for recreational players, or even for, most poker players to go out there and play the tournament and get a lot of experience. Sorry about that. Am I training anyone for the World Series? I am. Scarmaker, the guy who won $1.3 million, I'm training him up for the World Series. He is my protege for the World Series this year. I'm excited to see how he does. 1-3 cash, $500 jacks. Okay, under the gun raises to 10. 2 people call. I guess. Oh, so you raise to 10. Okay, 9-8-7. Ugh, marginal made hand, right? Checker bet on the big side. So you bet 16. One guy folds. One guy makes it 50. Yeah, rough spot. Turns a king. He bets 75. I would just fold. Rivers of 2. He shoves. You call. I would fold. He shows up with 8-6. You fold queens in the same spot, but with jacks, he doesn't have as many jack 10s. Yeah, I mean, sure. I'm glad you found a guy who bluffs a lot. Or we're giving away a 10K main event seat. If I sell enough of these. Actually, I had some metrics in mind to where we'd give away a 10K main event seat. We're actually getting kind of close. So we'll see. It'd be good to give away a 10K main event seat. That said, is it better to give away 20 $500 seats to the Big 50? I don't know. On the queen jack suited hand, you had 3 opponents. Flop was king 10-8. You continuation bet for a bit less than half pot, followed by an all in and another all in and another all in. Should you call or fold? Probably call because your outs are very clean, assuming there's no flush draw available. All right, we somehow got through all of your questions. We had about 500 people here today, and we somehow got through all of your questions. So thank you very much for letting me get through all the questions. Thanks for all the great questions. Again, if you enjoyed this, if you like my work, throw me a little support. Go to pokercoaching.com/bundle where you will get the 25K platinum coaching sessions, the $1 million coaching session, the one-on-one coaching webinar, and both of the video vaults. So you can get that at pokercoaching.com/bundle. Also, check out pokercoaching.com. If you have not signed up for that, it is completely free. to get a trial membership. If you like this content, sign up. You'll get put on my email list, and we'll send you more free webinars like this. If you like more free poker content, that is how you do it. All right, have a great night. Good luck in your games. Have fun. Be nice to someone. And I'll talk to you next time.